Okay, hey guys, welcome back to our YouTube channel. In this tutorial, I'm going to discuss about the one of the very nice features provided by the Selenium Webdriver, okay, which will helps to capture the API request and response from the web application. Earlier, when we are using the Selenium 3 version, at that time this feature is not available. But Selenium 4, when it launched, right, it's provide one feature that is known as the DevTools. By using the DevTools, we can capture the networks API request as well as the response. Not only the API, any request which is sent through the application, we can capture. Same as well as the response. So mostly when we are working, right, then we need to capture the API request sometime to make sure there is a defect in the first front end or we are not getting the API data response. Like if I talk about this application, right, if I refresh the data we are getting here on the UI level, this weather information, this information is coming basically from the API. If I go in network tab and refresh the application, we can see the API request. You can see. So this data basically coming from the weather stack.com wsapi.php, and this is the IP address as a query parameter. And in the response, we are getting this data, right? And this data is populated on the required data is populated on the UI. Like this is the Noida region. Okay, you can see here India, Uttar Pradesh. So this information you can see here, right? So this is coming from the API. So sometimes if the API response is not getting here, right, then we cannot see the data on the UI. Like suppose that if we are not getting the data on the UI, so maybe this is the issue of the front end, right? It's not handled properly, or maybe we are getting not the response properly. Okay, so how we handle this manually? We can just verify the UI data as well as the API under the network tabs. We are getting proper response. But how we handle this by using Selenium? So let's see. I'm going to show. So here I will first show how we capture the request details, each and every request. Then I will show how we get the response of the APIs or applications, each and every request, how we get the response and verify the response code as well as the URL. And after that, I will show how we filter the response and just capture the response only for the API request. So we will capture this data only. So let me show you. So here I have created one test file, right? And then this is it will launch the Chrome browser and then it will navigate the URL. So first of all, I am going to create here DevTools object. Okay, this DevTools basically helps to get the network traffic. We can use this and DevTool tools object equal to driver dot get DevTools. Okay, this DevTools object we can get only when we have object of the Chrome driver or Edge driver. Next, we need to create a session. So this is create session. So now here created the session of the DevTools, right? Next step, we need to enable the network. So for that we can use the send and here network. Okay, network we need to import the corresponding Selenium class. So I imported this version Chrome version 11 and then here we can use the enable. Okay, so you can see in enable method there are three parameters need to pass. Okay, and basically this networks we can find out the methods under the DevTools. Okay, so go to the Chrome DevTool protocol and then in the left side menu you can see there is a network. Click on this. Okay, it will open the Chrome DevTools for the network domain. Here network domain allows tracking network activities of the page. It exposes information about HTTP file data and other requests and response. You will see all these methods are available, right? So basically we need to here call this method enable. So if I open this, you can see this network dot enable, it has three parameters. We need to pass here three parameters, and these three parameters are optional, right? We can pass here basically buffer size in bytes, pre resources, so we can set how many data we need to receive. Okay, so now as of now, because these are optional, so I am going to pass this as a optional. So I will call here optional dot empty. Okay, let's pass this in all the three places. So now it will enable the network. Next, let's see how we capture the request details. We can add the register the listener. So DevTools dot add listeners. So here it will accept two parameters. One is the event, second is the consumer. Basically, event means which event trigger. Then it will handle by consumer. Okay, so let's see what event and what consumer we need to pass. So if I go in again in the Chrome DevTools, right? So if I scroll down, there are multiple events. Basically, when these events fire, okay, then we need to proceed. Like here, we can capture the request when request fired. Means when request detail is ready, then we can capture. So here in the event, basically there are some events like data received. So when data is received, then it will fire. Similar type we have event source message received, loading failed, loading finish. Okay, there are multiple events, so these events will automatically trigger. Now we need to capture the request, right? So we need to handle this, pass this network request with request will be sent. So let's pass this here. So this is the method I can pass here. Next is the consumer. So this is response. So suppose that this is response request consumer. Okay, here we can use a regular expression, lambda expression, and then like this. Now this request consumer, it will accept by using this. We can get the request. Okay, then it will return, and we can store in a request object. Okay, let me import this. So same version, DevTool v11. Now let me print here the URL dot get URL. Okay, so here we are capturing all the URLs of the request when request sent. Let me run and you will see all the URL we will receive here. Application navigated. You can see on the console all the URLs which is sent as a request. Okay, here you will find also the API request which fetch the details. This one, this is the request, right? Which will get the data, which will receive the with the information data. So this is basically very helpful request handling the request when we are going to mock the API. Mock the API means when we are going to change the API and send the request again. So in that case, it will be very helpful. Now in next API, in the next request, I'm going to show how we capture the response detail. Okay. So again, I need to use the DevTools add listener. Okay, here we need to pass the event, basically which event we need to pass here. So this is the response received. So when we receive the response, then we need to handle this. So here I need to pass the response received event, and then next we can pass the some consumer object. Consumer is basically handler, a response consumer object. Okay, so now this method I can use to get the response, get response. Okay, and now this get response method return the object of response. So let's store in a response variable. Import this response. Okay, I imported the wrong class. So let's import the Selenium, right? So I need to use this response network dot model response. So this response object we need to import. Now it's working fine. So by using this response, we can receive the URL as well as the response code of the request. So get status, and then I am passing here a request URL response dot get URL. So let me comment this code, right, so that you can see only the response URL as well as the code. So it will not give you this data. Now running the test. Yeah, so all these are the response detail. These are response code, and this is the response URL. Okay, so now when we are testing, right, if we want to make sure we are need to check this is the API issue or UI issue. Front end we are verifying the Selenium WebDriver, but in back end basically what we can do, we can verify if we are getting the response code 200 or not. If we are getting not 200, then it means there is something wrong. So let's first filter the URL. So basically we don't need to put the condition for each and every URL. So I'm going to put this condition only for the API request. So I can copy the API request. So let's see. Yeah, this one. So I will apply the filter on this API. I pass here. So if any URL of the response URL will contain WS API p.php, right? Then here we can use assert dot assert equal. Okay, so what we need to verify, just use this one, and here pass 200. We can move this print under here. So in that case, you will get only the one URL. Rest I am not printing. Okay, so what I'm doing here, I'm capturing the response, verifying if the response URL contained this, right? Then in that case, I am verifying the status code 200. Okay, so let me run the test, and you will see the output of the API. So it will print only the API status code as well as the URL. So now it's navigating the URL and data is fetching, Okay, so now let's see in the console. In the console you can see only this URL, right? 200, and this is the URL. So it seems it's found 200. It means this API accessed successfully. Okay, so now next let me show you how we capture the response data. Means this is JSON data which we are retrieving from the API, how we receive that. So let's see. So now let's first create a request ID object. So I'm going to create a final variable, a request ID, and then request ID, new request ID 1. Okay, so basically this will holds the request ID. So if I go here in the response, right, like consumer, so by using consumer, we can get request ID. Okay, and we can receive in a request ID variable. At zero index, I can receive. Okay, we imported here wrong ID. So this is the request ID. Let me import. Okay, we need this a network model. So we need this request ID, network model request ID. So this is imported. Now next, basically, if our condition is met, then I'm going to capture the request ID, JSON body, what we are getting in response. So string response body, I created one variable. Now we can use DevTools dot send command. Basically here we need to use network and get response body, and in this response body we can pass the request ID. So request ID I have already captured here, so let's pass this request ID here. Okay, so it will give us the response body, right? Then one more method I need to call get body. Now we can get by using this DevTools send, right, network get response body, and here we are passing the response body, we are passing the ID of the request, right? So it get method, get body method will return you the response body. Let's print this, and you will see by using this approach you will capture the response body details. Running the code. This response body method you can see here, get response body, it will accept the request ID, right? With request ID we need to pass, and then we can get, there are two return object body as well as the base 64 we can get. So as of now I am just calling the get body, so this will give us the text body of the response. So test is running, and here you will see the response. Yeah, data is loaded on the browser, and if I go in the console you can see here the JSON data it's received, right? So now we can get the JSON data, verify the data with the UI. If there is any mismatch you are getting from the front end, from the UI, we can verify the data from the API, right? So in this is very helpful when we need to verify if there is a issue in the application or in the API response. So we can validate by using this approach. Okay, so later we can also use the mocking for the this request handler, where we can change our some request details. So I will show you in the next tutorial how we mock the API, how we change the request data during the execution, okay, by using the DevTools. Hope this will be helpful. And if you like the tutorial, click on the like button, subscribe the channel, and also click on the bell icon so that you can get latest videos notification. And let's meet in the next tutorial. Thanks for watching the video.